Story of the time I threw up on a ride while riding it. So every year in the town that I grew up, there was a county fair. And there was a ride in particular called the Zipper. And it was probably the most popular ride there. So basically the ride is a big giant circle. It kind of looks like a Ferris wheel, except you and another person that sits in a cage, the cage spins around while the thing is like going in a big giant circle. So I thought it was a good idea after eating 6 fried Oreos, 2 funnel cakes, 3 corn dogs, 5 chicken tenders, French fries, ice cream. Why not go on the Zipper? So me and my friend go on. That first 3 seconds of being on there, I realized how big of a mistake that was. And I tried to hold it back. I did. I think the first initial I swallowed, but after that I just It was a mess to say the least. But use my code to get 15% off of your VP Fashion hair extensions, because they look great, right? This is my strangest encounter with a nail client story. So when I first started doing nails, I didn't have a lot of clients. I decided to run a promotion where you would get $15 off your first set of nails. And I was only charging between $35 and $55 to begin with, so it was already cheap. I would only take 1 nail client a day just because I had school and I would take a lot of hours to do nails. A girl messaged me and had made an appointment for 4 o'clock. So I had my friends from school come over and wait with me there until the girl came just to make sure that she wasn't, a serial killer. So 4:30 comes along, she says she's running late, 5:30, 6:30, 7:30. Finally, 8 o'clock, she texts me and says that she's outside. She smelled like a mixture of BO and marijuana. I finished doing her nails around 12 o'clock at night just to find out that she didn't even text her ride to come yet and she lived an hour away. I told her it was fine and she can make herself comfortable while she waits. She proceeds to lay in my bed. Story of the day to a cop searching my car without my permission. So I see this police officer opening up my car door and putting his head inside my car. So I'm like, "Excuse me, officer, is there an issue? Why are you searching my car?" And he was like, "Oh, is this your car?" And I was like, "Yes, do you have a warrant?" And then he said, "Do you live here?" And I was like, "No, but do you have a warrant?" And then he said, "No, actually, the neighbor called me because he was concerned and I actually live down the street and the car was unfamiliar, so I felt the need to search it. I can't see inside of your car because of the tints, so I didn't know if somebody was in there, like maybe sleeping in their car or something." I don't really remember what he said, but I was like, "Okay, but I think you need a warrant to search the car. Please close my door." And honestly, he was pretty nice about it, I'm not gonna lie. I was just really annoyed because in my head, I'm thinking why? I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm always getting caught up for doing nothing. Story of the first time I puffed, if you know what I mean. So I was in 8th grade, maybe 7th grade. It was the same night that me and her snuck boys into her house and they peed in the flower pot, if you guys remember that story time. If not, definitely go watch it because it's funny. But anyway, these kids were a little bit older than us. I'm pretty sure that they were sophomores in high school. And they were probably not the best influences on 8th graders. So anyway, they end up bringing the stuff. And my friend was paranoid that it would smell, so we ended up going in her front yard by her garbage can. And they ended up rolling up on the garbage can. Which in hindsight is kind of nasty now that I'm thinking about it. But we puffed. The number one thing that I can remember is not being able to contain my laughter. There was one boy that was there, and he was feeling me, but I was definitely not feeling him. And I told my friend that I was cold, and she said that she had sweaters in the closet. So I go over to the closet and try to look for a sweater. And the kid tried to push me in the closet to, get with me or something. I was laughing so hard I peed myself. Story of the time I let a stranger drive me home. Disclaimer, do not do this. So at the time, I was either 15 or 16, and I worked at a shoe store. I became really close friends with the people that I worked with, and they were a little bit older than me. And Uber was definitely a thing back then, but nobody ever used it. And a lot of my friends would use taxis, but they were pretty expensive, so I was not trying to get one. My parents were out of town, and my friend that was going to drive me home also worked at the mall, but she ended up going home sick, so she couldn't take me home anymore. So I start asking my coworkers if anybody would be able to take me home. But they all lived super far away from me in the opposite direction, so they all said no. The mall closed at 9:30 and we usually got out of work at 10, but I ended up sitting in the waiting area until 11 o'clock just hoping that somebody would be able to pick me up. A few security guards came up to me and asked me why am I still in the mall, and I told them I'm waiting for a ride, so they let me stay. Mind you, I was sitting by an exit. So I see this cute guy walking towards the exit, and I talked to him a few times because he also works in the mall. He was like, "You're still here?" And I was like, "Yeah, I don't have a ride." And he was like, "I got you." Story of the time I snuck a
Invited.
boy into my best friend's house. So me and my friend were in 7th grade. And if you're new here, I guess you don't really know. But 7th grade is when I really went wild. Not high school, not college, but 7th grade. So my friend's parents had went away on a cruise. Her grandma was watching her and her siblings. And me too, because I slept there every single day. It's funny because I can't remember how I met this boy. I just remember that me and my friend both wanted to get
Hang
with him.
out.
It was really weird. So this kid ends up riding his bike over to her house. Mind you, it was daytime. So I don't know how we got away with this. But he snuck in through the back and we took him upstairs into her room. We were all really thirsty, so we started drinking water. I drank so much water that I started to feel sick. But I ignored it and drank more water. And even though 7th grade was my crazy stage, all I would ever do with boys is just like kiss them. So I kissed this boy, and eventually I had to use the bathroom, so I left for about 10 minutes, and I came back to my friend kissing. Story of the time I backed into somebody's car. And this happened yesterday, and I'm a little bit heated still. So I was leaving the mall, and I had in the car with me 4 of my friends. I looked behind me and there were no cars, and the mall was closing, and usually when the mall closes, people just drive crazy because they're just trying to get out of there. So I start inching out of the spot, and all of a sudden somebody starts honking their horn, and that's when I realized that I backed into somebody, very gently, but still nonetheless I did back into them. So I pull into the spot again, and I get out of my car, and right off the bat the guy comes out of the car and starts screaming in my face. I will not be repeating word for word what this disrespectful man was saying to me, but I'll try to say it without the curses so you can get a gist. Let me give you an image of what he looked like first. He was probably in his late 50s. He was wearing baggy jeans and a baggy t-shirt, and you could tell by his voice that he was definitely from New York. Oh, and he also had this gigantic Bluetooth earpiece on his ear. So he gets out of the car and he goes, "What's wrong with you? Are you mentally ill? Or are you just blind?" Story of the time I backed into somebody's car and they went off on me. Part 2, while I mix all of my colored acrylics together. So he gets out of his car and he immediately starts cursing and screaming at me. He asked me if I had a mental illness or if I'm just blind. Then he proceeded to tell me that I shouldn't have my license and that I'm a danger to be on the road. Which is absolutely ridiculous because he came out of absolutely nowhere, turned the corner real quick while I was backing out, which caused me to hit him. And because of the way he was exploding at me, I figured the best solution to this was to just be really nice to him and to just apologize. So to every single thing he said, I basically agreed with him. I was like, yeah, no, maybe I do have a mental illness. Yeah, maybe I shouldn't be driving on the road. Yeah, maybe I don't deserve my license. Basically repeating him so that he realized what he was saying was really messed up. But this man wouldn't stop. He was on the phone with his wife through his Bluetooth speaker thing on his ear, and I had asked him if I could just give him cash so our insurances wouldn't have to go up because I had a lot of cash on me. But instead of responding directly to me, he would respond to his wife. He was like, "This idiot thinks we're not going to call the cops on." Story of the time this girl tried to fight me at the mall for no reason. I was a freshman in high school at the time, and I went to the mall with my boyfriend and my friend. The mall that we were at has 2 levels. We were on the upper level. And just to paint a picture in your head, there's a balcony on top so you could see the lower level, but there's also 2 sides. So like a walkway on one side, a gap where you could see the lower level, and then another side. So we were on one side sitting on a couch, and the girl that wanted to fight me was my ex-boyfriend's cousin's friend. We always had beef for no reason, and it was never on my part either. She always hated me and always wanted to start stuff with me. So while we were sitting on the couch, I see her walking on the opposite side of the balcony, and we make eye contact. And she starts screaming, "Oh, look who it is! It's my best friend! Oh, look!" And immediately I was like, oh my god, great, we're gonna have to deal with this. I thought it was gonna end there. We ignored her so that she would go away. But nope, she walks on the other side of the balcony and comes up to us. She says to my boyfriend at the time, "Do you realize you're dating a..." Can't say it. This is a story time about being cheated on. This will be the shortened version, but you know. So I was dating this kid for like 2 years, and he started working at this grilled cheese place, and it closed at like 6 or 7 o'clock. I would go to his house, you know, to like wait for him so we can hang out when he gets out. And he started not coming home until like 11 or 12, saying, "Oh, we have to clean the grills, blah, blah, blah." So I started to become a little suspicious, and the crazy bitch came out of me. So I started looking through his closet. I ended up finding 3 unopened condoms. I decided not to say anything about it and see, you know, if 3 turns into 2 and 2 turns into 1. And guess what? It did. Like for part 2, because we're running out of time here. Part 2 of how I found out I was being cheated on. Just so you guys get a full understanding, I confronted him when there was only 1 condom left. So as far as he knew, I only had found the one, but I really found 3 and saw them gradually turn into one. So obviously, like, a cheater isn't gonna admit that they've cheated on you. So he told me that it was his friend that lived with him at the time. Now, his friend didn't live in his room or his closet. He lived in his own room in the house. So I decided to text his friend. And I set his ass up, like, for part 3. Part 3 of how I found out I was being cheated on. So I ended up texting his friend. And I texted his friend in front of him, but without him knowing, so they couldn't plot anything. I texted his friend and I said, "Are those 3 condoms that were in his closet yours?" Pause. Make sure that you guys remember I said to his friend 3 and not 1. His friend said back to me, "Yes, those are mine." So I said, "All 3?" And he said, "Yes, Mia, all 3 are mine." I said, "Okay, let me get this straight. You left 3 unopened condoms in his closet and they're still there." He said yes. And there was only 1 in his closet at that time. So as you can see, I caught him in the act. But I'm sure all of you guys can relate to this. I was stupid, I was young, I was in love, so I stayed with him. But this event is what caused me to dig a little deeper. I ended up making one of my old friends add him on Snap and start to flirt with him, like for part 4. Part 4 of finding out that I was being cheated on. So before I was dating my ex, I was friends with this girl, and we had like a really bad fallout, so we stopped being friends, and he knew about that. But we had recently made up, and I never told him about it. And before me and him started dating, he thought she was cute, so I saw this as a perfect opportunity to set him up. So I told the girl about what happened with the condoms, and she agreed with me that that was sus. So I told her to add him on Snapchat and start like flirting with him and see if he would, reciprocate. And long story short, he did. So I decided to take it to the next level and have her ask him to hang out in person. That week, I had asked him to hang out on the upcoming Saturday. And he told me no because he said that he needed to stay late after work again to clean those grills. Because grills just get so dirty. So I had my friend ask him if he can hang out that same Saturday. And he said yes. So I waited for that Saturday to come and like for part 5. Part 5 of how I found out I was being cheated on. So before that Saturday, I had typed out a really long paragraph to send to him if he was really serious about hanging out with her that Saturday. So Saturday comes around, and I had her ask him for his address. He sent the address and said come through. So the girl took a screenshot of the chat on Snapchat, sent it to me, and I sent it to him with the long paragraph. So I broke up with him. We were broken up for about 2 months. And then we started talking again after 2 months. I know, I'm a dumb bitch. What can I say? And now here comes in my ex-best friend. While all of this happened and was happening, I was best friends with this girl. I didn't bring her up yet in any of the other story times because it wasn't really relevant until this one. And also, I need to mention that my ex was best friends with his manager. That's how he got the job. So one day I'm hanging out with my ex-best friend, and I got a FaceTime call from his manager. Part 6 of how I found out I was being cheated on. So me and my ex-best friend were chilling in her bed, and I suddenly get a FaceTime call from his manager, who was also his friend. He said, "Yo, Mia, you're hanging out with your ex again?" And I was like, "Yeah, why?" And then my ex-best friend started bugging out, saying, "Mia, hang up on him. He's trying to flirt with you. Like, leave her alone. You're so annoying, blah, blah, blah." And honestly, I didn't find that suspicious because he did flirt with me a lot. But obviously, I ignored it because I was loyal to my ex. So then his manager said, "Oh, wait, you're with her?" And she was like, "Shut up, Mia. Oh my God, hang up on him." So I hung up on him, but I was curious why he called me. So after I got back from my ex-best friend's house, I decided to call him back. So I called him, and the first thing he asked me is like, "Oh, are you getting back together with him? Blah, blah, blah." And I was like, "I don't know yet." And he was like, "Mia, what I'm going to tell you is going to break your heart. The person he's been cheating on you with is your best friend." This is part 7 of finding out that I was being cheated on. So at first I was in denial that my ex had been cheating on me with my ex-best friend. I was like, listen, I'm gonna need some proof. Since my ex's manager was also his friend, his manager didn't want him finding out that he's the one who told me. So he said he had to show me the proof in person. He asked me if I wanted him to pick me up so he could show me the proof. And that wasn't weird because, like, we all used to hang out. I was cool with him too. So he picked me up and we went to Fridays. So first he started by telling me about how he would buy my ex condoms and that he would take my ex to my ex-best friend's house after work. And it all started coming together because I used to text his manager saying, "Oh, are you guys almost done cleaning the grills?" And his manager used to vouch for him. Then he showed me a video on his Snapchat of my ex-best friend sitting on my ex's lap in the back of his car. And there were more videos, but at the time it was too painful for me to watch.